Hey everybody, how are you today? I hope that you are well. I do want to thank all of you amazing people for being so kind and sending so much in the way of kind support my way since Thursday. It really emphasized how much wonderful support there is on Transport Evolve's YouTube channel and how many of you really do care, and that meant a lot to both myself as well as my wife and also the rest of the TE team. Um, so for those who don't know, I'm going to try and keep this short. I'm also going to try and give you just the facts. I do want to start, I guess, by I'm going to tell you what happened. Then I'm going to talk about some of the responses that we've had, and then I want to cover next steps. I'm doing this as a live stream because I feel it is important to tell you everything that's been going on. But at the same point, I would also very much like it if, in the interests of being transparent and open, why there was no 10 today. And I only ask that people keep everything civil in the comments section. Keeping it civil is the way to go. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can do so by heading to patreon.com/transport evolved. I know funds for many people are very tight at the moment. But if you are someone who consumes our content on a regular basis, I would really love it if you would consider becoming a Patreon supporter. I know we have lost some, certainly in the UK, since the UK entered a recession and people started losing their jobs. So if you are fortunate enough to have some room in your budget and you would like to support the channel in order to see us continue, please do consider joining us at patreon.com/transport evolved. It's a lovely group of people, and there are options from as little as $1 a month. All right, let's start at the beginning. So on Thursday last week, and bear in mind that the previous live stream I did on this, I was obviously in shock. So I may not have remembered everything perfectly. So please don't go niggling if there are slight differences between what I'm going to tell you now and what I remember. Obviously, trauma does weird things. But having since gone back to the scene of the accident and talked to the police about the accident, this is exactly what happened. So Thursday morning, I was actually ahead of our 10 production schedule. For those who don't know, TEN, Transport Evolved News, the show you normally see that goes live on a Sunday or a Saturday, depending on where you are in the world. That ends up starting production late on a Wednesday. That is because it takes me most of Thursday to download, takes me most of Thursday to script the show, to get the script checked if someone's available. Someone's not always available to script check, then to record it, and then to start the editing process. And for reasons I'm not going to go too deep into, I ended up working really late on Wednesday. My wife was working late and Em was working late because of the impending snowstorm, which is now here. So I worked late too, and I actually finished 10 on Wednesday, the script for 10. Thursday morning, I woke up to the news that Ford had flipped the switch on Tesla supercharging. And I was like, you know what? That's awesome. I actually have an adapter that we are in the process of testing. It's a mechanical adapter. There's no electronics inside of it, as far as I'm aware. I can activate it on my truck, and I will go to my local Tesla supercharger, and I will review the process, and I will give you all an example, very, very quick and dirty video, but just an example of what it's like to use a Tesla supercharger to charge an F-150 Lightning. Overnight Wednesday into Thursday, we got some snow. But I live at 850 feet, and I didn't I didn't think the snow was too bad at the house, but in order to bleed off some extra battery range, because the truck was sitting at the house with a 90-ish% battery state of charge, I decided that what I was going to do was I was going to drive north from my house up into further into the foothills of the Coast Range. I have winter tires on my truck. The Nokian Hakkapeliitas are very, very good. And without kind of going into complete details of to where I live, because I don't want people doxing me. I've already had several people threaten to do that. And I am going north from my house, and the temperature dropped below freezing, and the road sort of got more snow on it. Now, we had been up that same road earlier in the week filming, and so I knew that there was snow up there. When we'd gone up earlier, it was fresh snow. It was great. The traction was great. Even with summer tires on, the car we were driving had summer tires, and it was fine. Now, bear in mind, I have driven on snow and ice a lot. I had a lot of hate mail from people, both to my personal email. I don't know how you got hold of it. Please don't email me using my personal email. It will go straight into the trash. Saying I should go back to the UK if I can't drive on American roads in the winter. Also threatening me with reporting to the police, claiming I was lying, all of this other stuff. I don't want to give those people the time of day, but suffice to say that I do know how to drive in winter. I've been driving in winter for many, many years. I've driven in the Arctic. I've driven on ice lakes, and I have driven in both on both studded and non-studded winter tires, as well as regular stuff as well. And Doug, people like this, comments like this. Look, if you just wait and be patient, I will explain how the truck got to that point. And it is very, very frustrating when people are horrible in comments. I've had a lot of it. A lot of people have accused me of speeding. You clearly were doing at least 60 or 70 miles an hour, one person claimed. I wasn't. The police went up there, and I spoke to the police after the accident, and the police, the local sheriff's office, they looked and said, yeah, we can see exactly what you did. You slid on ice. The ice was still there when we went to check you out, or check your truck out, and everything was okay. So anyway, driving along, and we went from gravel to snow and gravel, and there were spots of clear gravel where the canopy of the trees, we've got lots of trees in here in the Pacific Northwest, where the canopy of the trees was effectively preventing snow from falling onto the ground. So the snow was basically still falling into the trees. So you can see it wasn't heavy snow at that point, which is one of the reasons why I felt kind of confident in my abilities, confident in the truck. I was being cautious, was driving about 20 miles an hour. I went down a hill, small country, effectively a single lane track at this point, with gravel. And we went from a bit that had snow on it to a bit that was clear because it was underneath a large tree and the canopy was preventing snow from landing on the road, to back into snow-covered road. And underneath that snow on that hill was ice. And the truck was heavy enough to cut through the snow, but not cut through the ice. And the truck started to slide. I obviously tried using the brakes. Nothing happened because it was in a slide. And the truck sort of shimmied a little bit. And I just carried downhill towards a corner. Now, did everything I could to possibly turn the truck, but if you've got no traction, you've got no way of slowing down because you're on completely slick ground, there is nothing you can do. And the very nasty, horrible people who are telling me that I am a terrible driver for not being able to stop at 20 miles an hour on sheet ice. I would have loved to have seen you try the same thing in the same situation. It's very easy to sit in an armchair and criticize other people. It's very different when you are in that situation. And there's some wonderful people who've reached out and said, hey, I live in wherever, and we get very cold winters, and it's very common. It's a very common thing. So the truck slid. It didn't just slide off the road. If it had just slid off the road, And it had been any other corner, I probably would have been just fine. But what actually happened was, as I was trying to obviously get the truck to go in the right direction, it was a left-hand corner, the truck went off the road and got some traction, but it didn't get traction enough, I assume. It was still sliding, but there was enough momentum. And the bottom right-hand corner of the truck caught on a guy rope or a guy wire, whatever you want to call it. One of those metal spikes that goes into the ground, that you have a wire that goes from the ground up to an electricity power line. Okay. So those high tension cables, not high tension as in high voltage, but high mechanical tension cables. The truck hit that, and it just had enough momentum that the cable got snagged under the side step on the passenger side of the truck and ripped off the side step and started to peel the doors of the truck off. Now, I'm going to warn you, this is quite a nasty image. So you can see, and I apologize that I'm sort of hiding around on the corner here, but you can see that obviously the I do apologize, I hit the wrong button there. And you're fine, Doug. We have had several people complain and accuse me of lying, so I am a little. I'll be honest. I'm a little. I am a little defensive on that because I don't like people claiming things that aren't true. So, and I wasn't accusing you of that, by the way. So, the corner of the truck in the middle, that's where the guy wire hit, and it kind of sliced the truck through. And there is a sort of there was a moment where the underside of the truck was basically sliced open by the corner of the truck. I guess it sliced it open, and the knock-on effect of that is that the side panels of the truck were pulled off. Or the I suppose the exterior stuff. Now you can see towards the back of the truck, the back of the cab there, the second door. You can see where that cable has basically got really tangled up in the truck, and that is because the second, I guess, the second bit of that step, so the back part of the step where the step is added, that has been quite badly beaten up, and so in order for us to kind of have some better better luck that day, we wouldn't have hit the guide wire, or I wouldn't have hit the guide wire. I'm sorry. I was the only person in the vehicle. And the consequence of that is that, for whatever reason, I didn't roll very well that day. And my truck pulled the cable taut. I'm trying to find this extra image so that you can see it here. So the cable was pulled taut, and then what happened after that was, I'll show you this other image that's just uploading right now. So you see here, this is where the cable dug into the underside of the front door, and then as it got further down, I think it must have got caught up by the rear of the side step. Maybe the side step came off in two parts. I don't know. But that gash is from the cable just tearing into the side of the truck. That cable was under an incredible amount of tension. I don't know if it broke, but when it did break, or when it gave way, it then pulled the pylon over. The power cable was pulled down. and the power cable fell on top of the truck, on top of the cab of the truck, and that caused the top of the truck to collapse. So the glass roof collapsed. It broke the rear glass. Amusingly, at least I thought it was amusing after kind of walking away and going, "Wow, this truck saved my life." The bit of the the bit of the the bit of the truck that survived was the sliding window. It's just the sliding window was still in one piece. The rest of the glass on the back was smashed because of the things falling on it. So you can see that there. That is where the pylon fell. It was a pylon with live electricity. I don't mean okay, it might be a British thing. It's a power pole. How about that? An electrical power pole, like the things in the background of this shot. Okay. It fell on top of the truck because that guy wire, got stuck underneath the truck, or got tangled up in the truck, and that then pulled that pole down. Now, people say to me, "Oh, but that must have meant you were going really fast." And the reality here is that it's all about the weight of the vehicle and its momentum. You don't need a lot of momentum if you've got a lot of mass, and that truck is heavy. It pulled it on top of the roof, and then the power line fell, or the pole fell down, fell to the side of the truck, was still live. I had good sense not to go around that side of the truck. I managed to exit the vehicle, and I was safe. Unfortunately, though, the front end of Adira also came to rest, tapping a tree. Now, had the pole not been there, I'd have just been looking at a new wing, a new front light, and maybe a bumper. The damage on the driver's side is not very good. Now, I am trying to be as transparent as I possibly can be here. And I know there's going to be lots of people. I've already had people complaining about the truck and saying how terrible it was. And, oh, if you had a different vehicle, it wouldn't have been written off. And I'm afraid whoever you are, and you are talking out of your bottom, that truck saved me. I know that there were other vehicles that, had I been in and had a power cable, a power line, power pole, power pylon, whatever you want to call it, fell on top of the truck, I would not have walked away. And I'm very, very grateful to my F-150 Lightning for that. Now, faced with all of that damage, the insurance company have opted to total the truck, which is hardly surprising. The airbags did not go off. I wasn't going fast enough for the airbags to deploy. Because I was holding the steering wheel, as you are supposed to, I did sustain a little bit of damage to my left hand. That's some skin that was pulled off. I don't know how that happened. I legitimately do not know. I don't know where that happened. I don't know how it happened, but it was an after the accident thing. The only thing I can think of was maybe it was the steering wheel snapping and burning my hand. And then I have you can see my hand is actually very swollen right now. So I've got some bruising. You probably can't see it, but I've got some bruising on the underside of my hand. And there is some concern that I've broken a bone in here. The urgent care, the Zoom clinic that I went to, they had an X-ray machine. They had an X-ray machine, and they X-rayed my hand, and they said, "We don't see any fractures, but given how much pain you are in and where you are in pain, we want you to go and see an orthopedic specialist. And until then, I have to wear this." And I am a right-handed person, so my handwriting's been really, really ooky this week. Luckily, I was able to do the accident report for the DMV. Did that digitally. That has been sent off. The insurance company have already written the car off, and the police. The police officer, when they came to my house and said, "Hey, where is your truck? What's going on?" I was like, "Okay, it's just up the road." I was still in a lot of shock at the time. Pointed them in the right direction. There was no cell phone signal where I was, so I think I said in the accident, my watch went off and went, "Hey, you've had a fall. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine." Those silly things that happen in the first 30 seconds following an accident like that or a collision, your brain doesn't necessarily operate in the right way. And I should have just gone, "No, I need help." But I was like, "I'm fine. I'm good." Adrenaline was running. And then I couldn't get a cell phone signal. So what happened was literally within about 3 minutes of the collision, a lovely couple in a Chevrolet Bolt. I'm not making this up. A lovely couple in a Chevrolet Bolt with a B were heading up to a local well-known dog walking place up the mountain, and they said, "Hey, are you okay?" And I'm like, "No." And I explained that I lived further down the mountain, and they were like, "Oh, I think we know where you live." And they gave me a lift back to the house. So I was very lucky. I'm not going to tell you where the accident was. I wasn't going to tell you how far away I was from home. I was fairly close to home. So it took me about 10 minutes to get home. And when I got home, obviously my wife, by that point, I'd managed to reach her and tell her I was okay, but I'd had a bad accident. So we immediately called 911, told the police what happened. Police came. They checked up on me, made sure I was okay. Took my statement, took my driving license and insurance details, and then they headed up to see the truck and arranged for a breakdown truck. I went straight off to the urgent care. And we went from there. As Devanubis says, "You must have been going too fast. The airbags didn't deploy." Some people don't care about the facts. Obviously, they don't mean you must have been going too fast. It's in air quotes. So yeah, a lot of people who've been saying, "Oh, you must have been going too fast." You weren't there. You didn't see it. I've had lots and lots of people go, "Oh, 20 miles an hour. There's no way you could have done that at 20 miles an hour." You're right. There's no way that I could have just come off the road and hit something at 20 miles an hour and done that much damage. But I came off the road and hit something which then fell on top of my truck. And that's what caused all the damage. So now let's go to some of the comments, criticisms and whatnot. Some people have said, "Oh, you need to learn to drive on snow." Like I said previously, I know how to drive on snow. Had a couple of people threaten to send me to the police or get me in trouble with whatever the agency their fevered imagination believes I need to go to. And one person saying, "You shouldn't be making videos about this because you're admitting fault." I slipped on ice. I was the only person involved. It wasn't a fairy that pushed me. It was ice. I hit ice. I said, in fact, the car that came to that happened to stop and pick me up, they slid like 2 or 3 times getting me back to my house. So, and even the police said it was very slick when they were up there. The weather we've had lately has been, the temperature's been hovering around freezing, and it's when the temperature gets above freezing, there's not been any rain or snow, and then you'll get sort of light rain, and then the temperature will dramatically drop and it will turn to ice, and then it will dramatically drop further if you have heavy snow shower, which we've been getting on and off. I mean, it's kind of snowing lightly right now, but it's been heavy snow for times today. And there is a weather warning in our region right now. So when it's heavy snow, it's sudden without warning, and that covered the road in fresh snow. And I thought it was fresh snow, and it wasn't. It was ice underneath. So, those are the things. I am very glad that that the truck is in one piece. Also, somebody was getting shirty with me because I have fluffy animals on my dashboard, and they said, "Well, if you didn't have fluffy animals on the dashboard, then you wouldn't have had the accident." I'm like, please try harder for insults next time. So next steps, because there have been lots of people, lots of questions, which is why I'm doing this right now. And I also want to be clear that I do not plan on making another video on this truck until we know more about what's happening next. All right. So that's just so that you know. The county does not grit up here. We are very remote. Talking of which, at least 3 people got shirty with me and said, well, it's your own fault for living in the country. You should sell your house and move to the city so you've got good internet. If you want me to support you, you need to move into town. Like, no. For some reason, people seem to think that my personal life and my wife's personal life together is somehow something that can be governed by the needs of the company. It's that's yeah, that's not happening. We live out here for a reason. And I have banned a bunch of people. I don't normally do it, but I've banned a bunch of people for just being really horrible about the truck and about the accident. And like I say, if you're someone who's going to say, "Oh well, if you'd have got a Tesla Cybertruck, you'd have been all right," bullshit. So pardon my French. Nothing could have survived a pylon or a power pole falling on it the way that did. All right. So what's next? So the insurance company has totaled the truck. The truck is now with the insurance company. The truck was still working after a fashion. I've been getting random telematics error messages from the truck in the last couple of days. The battery, as I am aware, I don't know if there was any damage to the battery or not. The insurance company wrote it off because they do not know. And they do not want to take that risk. We all know what happens to batteries that have been damaged, potentially. Lots of people were asking, hey, are you going to buy the truck back? Are you going to use the battery? And the answer is no. And it's a very simple answer. The reason why. Yeah, Christian's just done the math. There you go. Thank you, Christian. So the insurance company will pay me back for the truck. And I have fully comprehensive insurance. So there will be some insurance payout for the power company because they needed to replace a power line or power pole pylon. And the truck obviously the ownership of the truck will go to the insurance company. For those who don't know, I don't own this truck outright. Some people seem to be very, very disillusioned about YouTube as a means of making money. If you are somebody who's willing to sell your soul to the advertisers, sure, you can make $500,000 in a year easily, maybe more. But if you have people you have to pay, there are multiple members of the team here that work at the company, that work at the channel, and you try to stick to your guns and only advertise products and companies that you actually believe in rather than just doing random ad reads, we don't have stupid amounts of money sitting in the bank. I certainly don't. I think that's probably why I made the "I'm a bad YouTuber" joke the other day, because that's how I was feeling. It wasn't a joke. I was very upset. But this truck was being paid for on a loan. So it was my personal loan. It wasn't a Transport Evolved loan. It was my personal loan that I took out with my wife together. We took a personal loan out to buy the truck. Now, because we are in our 40s and because we're of that middle age, my wife's actually not in her 40s anymore, but because we're middle-aged and because we have a decent credit score, we got a good deal on the truck from our credit union. And so the purchase cost of that truck was about $80,000. And I believe there's still $60,000 left. to pay. And so I have gap insurance, and the gap insurance will pay for whatever the insurance company does not, because my parents drilled into me from a very young age, have lots of insurance. So I was very lucky. And I have always maintained that, hey, I always have a good insurance for my vehicle. I have good gap insurance. I think my deductible is like $500. So less $500, I should get the majority of that money back for the truck. Because I was paying it off at a fair whack, because I've been kind of going without other things to help pay off the truck quickly. And we'll go from there. Message to the world: never take out a loan for a nice car. It will keep you poor. Well, you know what, Marty? That's a really wonderful dream. But if you're of a certain age and you have a business and you need to be able to transport stuff, sometimes you do have to take out finance packages. The important thing is that you can afford it, and I could just about afford that truck. And so when the insurance is paid up, I'm not going to turn around to the insurance company and say, I'll buy the battery, because the battery on that truck is going to be worth 5 figures at least. And I'm not in that position to suddenly buy a battery pack and then turn around and then have to pay off the rest of the loan for the truck. So my decision, and my wife's decision, is that we're going to have to find a replacement for Adira Tal. So let's leave the insurance. Let's leave people being mean and nasty about my driving skills. Say what you want, okay? I drive a lot. I drive much more than the national average, and I drive a lot. So next, let's talk about next steps. Wonderful people in the comments section making all kinds of wonderful suggestions about next vehicles I can get. Someone suggested I got an original Toyota RAV4 EV. We got rid of our first one because it wasn't a daily driver. Okay. So again, I would love to own another RAV4 EV. I would love to own another City L, but they would be project vehicles, not long term work vehicles. We could maybe get an SUV with a tow hitch on it and a trailer, maybe, as long as it could tow a decent amount. But then I would have to buy a trailer to put all of the camera gear in, because the trailers we currently own are not big enough for everything. All right. That's the first thing. And we do a lot of travel. I know that there's like 90%, it feels like 90% of the US is off limits to us now. It's not true. It's about probably about 65% of the US is not safe for us to go to. And of that, maybe a third of it is drivable. The rest we would have to take a plane to. All right. So we will be needing to get another vehicle that we can travel to events, things like fully charged. I mean, everything electric, as it's now called. Hopefully we'll go up to the everything electric in whatchamacallit in Vancouver. We have to go down to San Diego several times a year to film, to cover things. And we're going to be going to other events in California. We try and drive rather than fly where possible. That's very kind of you, Robert. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Sent mail to Ernest, Cherokee, and Canoe, plus need companions to go to conference. I know that I had a lovely one of you lovely people reached out about a First Nations or tribal project in the US or Canada. I can't remember which. So there we go. Ford has an EV truck. Makes more sense. No, And again, Ari, if you look at the I didn't want this to be me shooting people down, but it's very easy to look at somebody's situation from outside and tell them what they should do. And when that person is someone you see every day on screen, there is this parasocial relationship, and sometimes people get upset if you don't do the thing that they want you to do. And one of the reasons for me to choose to do this live stream right now, and as I say, it will be the last one I do on the truck. There are some more important considerations that we have to take into consideration. So let's go there. First up, we have a vehicle to home system. Like, we have a Ford home integration system. And I know it's very easy to watch the channel and go, oh, but it's been crap and it hasn't worked. It has worked very reliably since the very last update that we did, since I figured out how to get the charging station in the truck on the same software. It's worked 4 or 5 times without any problems, and it really does help. We have multiple power cuts. I'm surprised we haven't had one today. We regularly get power cuts because we are in a rural location, and it's something that is really useful for us. And one of the reasons why we decided to go for the F-150 Lightning in the very first place was, yes, it is an $80,000 pickup truck. And if you look at it like an $80,000 pickup truck, I would never have purchased it. But it's an $80,000 pickup truck with a free home backup system. If you look at the battery size of the F-150 Lightning, 131 kilowatt hours usable. So let's be kind and say we're only going to use 110 kilowatt hours. If you have a 110 kilowatt hour Powerwall, it would cost a significant amount of money. It would cost more, in fact, I think, probably than the F-150 Lightning. So the F-150 Lightning is an incredibly good value for money if it's paired with a home integration system, because you then get a battery backup for the house. And a lot of people go, excuse me, a lot of people say, oh, yes, but what happens if you're away from home? And then the answer is, as I've proven, if the weather is kind of crappy out and you've got heavy snow, that's kind of when the power tends to go out. So the power here goes out with one of 3 things, right? Either we've got extreme cold and snow and the power lines have been brought down, either through ice and snow levels, a tree coming down, or an idiot driving their truck into it. I say that with a smile on my face. 2, high winds or summer storms where there's a potential for fire and they turn off the electrical grid here, because if there's high winds and it's summer, the high winds can jostle the cables enough to spark a fire in the trees. So they turn off the power then. Or there's an earthquake, right? Those are the 3 potential power cut scenarios where the power is likely to be off for an extended period of time. And in that situation, the truck's not going anywhere, right? The truck is not going anywhere. If it's a fire risk and the power's gone off and there's a fire coming your way, you've got more important things to worry about than keeping your home powered. You jump in the truck and you go, right? Snow, you're just going to stay at home and wait for the snow to clear. And 3, and the earthquake, if there's been a major earthquake and your power is out, well, you need to stick around, basically. You can't travel easily until the roads have been cleared and all the all clear has been sounded. So in that situation, we're in a position where the truck is going to be at the house, and the backup is the power in the truck is going to be more important to keep your everyday home, your emergency situation running. And in an emergency, the battery in the F-150 Lightning can keep a home ticking over on emergency power for 4 or 5 days. If we use it like we normally do, we use power like we normally do, it's maybe a day and a half. But again, if there's a heavy snowstorm and we know power is going to be out for 4 or 5 days, or there's an earthquake and we know power is going to be out for a long period of time, I'm not going to be sat here doing live streams on YouTube. I'm not going to be using this computer. I'm not going to be using the massive server room we have. We can turn off that power circuit. We can turn off other power circuits, and we can bring that power really, really down. So to be able to use the home integration system is a real killer feature for us. And it doesn't happen to be a It doesn't happen to be a very easy thing to do. Um, so 8 times 13 Tesla Powerwalls at roughly $10,000 each. That's the cost of your F-150 Lightning without the wheels, motors, and use of it as a vehicle. That is exactly the proposition. Okay. And for those who don't know, I do live up here in the mountains. We don't have any gas, or we don't have any piped gas. We don't have any propane or anything like that. Everything here is 100% electric. So we are off grid for our water. We are off grid for our sewerage. So if the power goes out, we lose the ability to pump water from the ground. We lose the ability to flush the toilets. We lose the ability to heat and cool our home. So and yes, the home integration can be spec'd to power your home in an outage from solar panels to some extent. Thank you, Supper Cat. Just heard this sad news. Glad you have great insurance. Yeah, thank you. I'm anti-car, personal transport advocate for these reasons. Yeah. And if I lived in somewhere where I didn't need a vehicle that size, I would not be buying another one. But lots of people say, well, you could just buy a Tesla Cybertruck. No, because it wouldn't be compatible with the home integration system, and that's something I have invested over $10,000 in. And I'm still paying for. Rivian won't work with a home integration system. Rivian would be a good option, but there are still some major concerns about repairability for Rivian in terms of time off the road for repairs. And I know several people with Rivians. Some have been lucky when their vehicle's been off the road. Other people have had to wait a long time for replacement parts. I know that's been a problem for the entire industry, but the F-150 Lightning generally has been really good. When there was an issue, for example, with the tailgate, I had to have a replacement motor for the tailgate under warranty. I think it took less than a week to arrive. And then someone came out and they fixed it and off we went. So that is that, which leaves us with another F-150 Lightning. And that is where we're at. So we're very disappointed because Adira Tal, what was the name of our F-150 Lightning, was a launch F-150 Lightning Lariat. So it had all the bells and whistles. It had the launch color, which is no longer available, which I'm very sad about. It had the weights, the scales on it, the automatic scales for the hitch and the bed. And it had a couple of other features that have since been removed from the F-150 Lightning. And that's unfortunate, but it's not a deal killer for me. It's unfortunate, but it's not a deal killer. But to be able to get another F-150 Lightning and to be able to benefit from some of the incentives that are now available for it means that we should hopefully be in an equal or slightly better position. We've already talked to our local dealership. I rang my dealership up yesterday and I was like, hi, I bought my F-150 from you guys 2 years ago and I've just had an accident. And the person on the other end of the phone was like, oh my God, are you okay, Nikki? So like, they know who I am, and we are good. Would I consider a used release edition truck if I could find one? Potentially, for the right price, as long as I could get the financing and everything else. Like if someone had like a Lariat or a Platinum that was either identical to a Adira Tal or pretty close to, I would definitely consider it for the right price. But I'm not about to I'm not about to buy a replacement truck for $60,000 if I can buy a new one for less because of incentives and things. So the dealer, my local dealer, I have a good relationship with them. They're on the lookout for one. My wife and I are on the lookout for one. Obviously, we can't do anything until the insurance has been written off. Until the insurance is paid out. The truck's been written off, but the insurance hasn't paid out yet because it's the weekend. I need to obviously also get this taken care of. Like I say, if you went early, you can see all the bruising in here from the accident. I still can't use this. So taking that steady. And then once the truck has been paid off and the insurance is that's done, then we can go from there. The other reason So someone was like, why not a truck? Why not like a Ford Transit, E-Transit? The Ford E-Transit is a great vehicle, but it only seats 2 people in its standard form. The price difference between it and the F-150 Lightning isn't that big, and while it's got great carrying capabilities, it doesn't have a great range, like 120, 130 miles maximum, as opposed to over 300 for the F-150 Lightning. The other thing to bear in mind is the F-150 Lightning is a great vehicle for my wife, who uses it as her personal vehicle. I want to really iterate here. I know we call it the Transport Evolved Truck, and when I do my taxes, I don't claim the payments. So I do not claim the purchase stuff and I don't claim purchase insurance or anything else off the truck. I do just claim the miles, right? So it's my personal vehicle that is insured for business and pleasure. And when I drive it for work, I do drive it for work and I claim the miles back off my taxes. But that's the only thing I do. So I know that was going somewhere and I've forgotten where I was going. So anyway, it was my own personal money that I was spending on this truck. And so personal money will go back into the truck. Perhaps you can monetize the naming rights for my new truck. Oh, dare I? I'd actually thought, okay, the lights have just come on. I thought maybe instead of Adira Tal, maybe it might be Grey Tal, depending on its color. Which is kind of fun because Grey Tal spends the first 2 and a bit seasons of Discovery just being effectively the Tal symbiont that lives inside Adira, that was originally inside Grey. Grey and Adira were a couple, and when Grey was unexpectedly killed, the symbiont, the Tal symbiont, was transferred into Adira because Adira was the only person who happened to be compatible, and they were a long way away from the Trill homeworld, and that's how it happened. So sorry, Star Trek Trill, look it up. But that's where the name Adira Tal comes from. And the reason why the truck was named Adira Tal is because the actor who plays Adira, their name is Blue. And so that's where I got there for. That'll end in Trucky McTruckface. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Trucky McTruckface. Yeah, I like that one because that's kind of the Sean's version is much more American. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, I just want to put this to bed. If the frame isn't bent, it might be repairable. It looks like it's entirely bodywork. You know, it's bent. I would love for my truck to be rebuilt. But the insurance company, just to give you an idea, the insurance company didn't even see it. I just sent them photos and they were like, yeah, no, it took them less than an hour. Let me show you the pictures again in case you didn't see them. So on that side of the truck, everything looks just fine and dandy. On this side, not so much, as you can see. So the A-pillar was fine. You can see the dent in the front door where the guy wire hit. And then that's where it kind of pulled off everything. Now, the B-pillar is twisted. The C-pillar is probably twisted. The rear door doesn't open on the passenger side. On the other side of the vehicle, on the driver's side, I didn't really damage anything on the driver's side. The only thing that got damaged really was that front, where it hit the tree. But everything else was absolutely destroyed on the other side. And in case you are unaware, the reason why there is a tarp over it is because I don't think I actually have. There you go. The rear window was smashed and the roof caved in. That you can see there's a pole-shaped dent in the roof of a Diratal. So it's the crush damage, as Ika said. It's the crush damage that did it. Yeah, I don't understand why people feel they have the right to judge other people's skills so long as you don't drink and drive. There's a reason the word accident was invented. Yeah, or crash or collision or whatever. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. So again, I'm trying to be really honest and upfront with you all about this, because while Adira was purchased using a personal loan that I secured through my wife and my bank account and everything like that, Adira has been part of Transport Evolved. So when we do really fancy shots, whenever we do a video and you see pictures of the car driving along and the camera's low and slow and it beautifully pans, that's because it was filmed from the truck. And we have a special rig that was handmade. Part of it was off the shelf, but part of it was handmade so that it would fit into the hitch on the back of the truck, so that when we're driving along, M sits in the cab in the back seat with a special monitor attached to the ceiling, so that we can film everything safely. We have radios, so we're in constant contact with each other. That's how that works. The truck is used for that. The truck has also been used to transport gear, like when we do big shows like Fully Charged, or as it's now called, Everything Electric. When we go down and we do multiple days on the road, all the camera gear goes in the back of the truck, and we used an electronically lockable tonneau cover, keeping everything safe, keeping everything secure. Obviously, that is part of the requirement from our company, our insurance company, to make sure everything is properly secured there. So I can't get that color blue anymore, which I'm very upset about. I will get another blue truck, or a red one, or a different color. Ortegas. Ortegas is a good choice. I can vibe with that because Ortegas has got spunk. Yeah. Let's see what color we end up with. But if I get any of that vibe, Ortegas, yeah, absolutely, freaking yes. For those who don't know, my motorbike, my Vectrex VX1 is called Hemmer, after the Andorian who sacrificed himself to keep the ship safe, because of the Gorn. That was in Enterprise, though, I think, not Discovery, unless my brain is a little frazzled, which it might be. I'm Ortegas, I drive the truck. I don't remember that reference, but I like it. I'm sure that was in the script at some point. I think that would be great. Any possibility of the batteries and motors being salvaged? I don't know. It's going to the insurance company. They're taking it over. Like I said multiple times, I cannot afford to buy the truck back. In an ideal world, I would. Strange New Worlds. Thank you. Strange New Worlds. Yes, Ortegas is in Strange New Worlds. Like I say, my brain is a little frazzled. So, I will have to spend several $1,000s out of my own pocket to get the truck recovered. I want to get another. I want to get more ceramic coating, because clearly, clearly that will buff out, right? I just need to get some ceramic cleaner and that will just buff right out. But I am going to get it ceramic coated again just to protect my truck. And I am going to get another F-150 Lightning. Can I retrieve the all-weather tires? Well, one of them is. So here's the thing: it wasn't on all-weather tires. The all-weather tires are at my house. So if there is a discovery, if there is an F-150 Lightning owner who lives locally who wants to buy some Ford F-150 Lightning batteries, please, not batteries, tires, reach out. They've probably only got about 10, 15,000 miles on them, not even that, because the truck had 28,000 miles when it was totaled. I did have Nokia and Hakkapeliitta R5 SUVs on there, and I still recommend them, and I would still buy them. Even with studded tires, there was no way that I was going to stop. Once you're in a slide on ice, you're done, right? And if you look at the people who go ice racing on ice lakes, their tires have spikes like that in them that are not road legal, but that's how thick those spikes are, just to keep the vehicle safe. Maybe exaggerated a little bit, kind of like that, but they're still quite spiky. I don't know how much for tires. My brain is not functioning in a normal way still. I'm getting there. But anyway, so look, how you can help support the channel at patreon.com/transportevolved, because I am going to be out of pockets lately, and I haven't been able to pay myself for the last couple of years. I can't even walk on ice. You are crazy to drive on it. Well, in my defense, there was no ice here at the house, and it was about another 600 or 700 feet higher up than I was. And I did not see I did not see the ice because there was fresh snow. And yeah, so look, I may end up with a Platinum, I may end up with a Lariat. I probably will go with a Lariat because I prefer the seats in the Lariat to the Platinum, and I don't want to be a poser. But it does need to be a truck that can work with a home integration system. Unless somebody has if somebody wants to write me a $10,000 check so I can take off the home integration system and not be out of pocket, and then write me a $100,000 check so I can install power walls or whatever on the side of the house, then maybe I will reconsider it. But until that point, I don't feel it's a bad thing being stuck in the F-150 Lightning, because it's a damn good truck. It's, I think, probably the best electric pickup out there in terms of usability and practicality and familiarity with every normal thing. I did have my wonderful winter tires on, Lindsay. I had my Nokia and Hakkapeliitta R5 SUVs, but no winter tire unless it's massive studded ones, which the Hackers aren't. And that's the way it works. You can keep the vehicle until you want to make it whole. They will not. No. Let me reiterate. I do not own the vehicle outright. If I own the vehicle outright, maybe I would say, hey, give me the truck back. But I don't own the vehicle outright. I've paid off a quarter of it, okay? And I don't know if you're joking. I don't know if the people who are just asking questions now are joking, but winter tires, non-studded winter tires don't do well on ice. Nobody does well on ice, and most of the time here in the greater Portland area, we don't get heavy snow for weeks at a time. So studded tires are a bit pointless because they just chew up the road. So yeah, this is what Uzzie's saying. Technically, a main battle tank might have survived the pole falling on it, or maybe a container ship. Yeah, I mean, if I've still got finances to give back on it, and then it would be the other point to bear in mind here is that I would be getting a vehicle with a salvage title on it, right? A salvage title, which would then make the truck more difficult in the future if we ever needed to sell. So yes, we are following the advice of the insurance company. Now, just to be clear, I have fought an insurance company in the past. So I once had an insurance company try and write off a car that had an accident that I owned. It was a non-fault accident on my part, and they tried to write it off. And I was like, no, no, you're going to fix this. And it took many, many, many weeks to go, yeah, please fix this. This is the value of the vehicle, etc., etc. In Oregon, they're very simple about insurance. If your insurance company goes, nope, you're done, you're done. And like Pete says, if anything happened to the car after that point, I'd be SOL with the warranty. So it makes sense. People can be angry with me. Look, I'm gonna admit something. In the aftermath of the accident, there was amazing support, and there was just a small minority of people who were being niggly and weird. Like I say, threatening to report me, claiming I was a liar, all of that stuff, claiming I was committing insurance fraud, all kinds of horrible, mean, and nasty things. And I just said, for a while, I was like, why do I bother making these videos? Why do I bother doing Transport Evolved? But I am feeling better, and I wanted to answer the questions that were coming because I want to be able to send people to this video and go, this is this is the final thing. I am 45. Someone's obviously watching late. I will be 45 in November. I was born in 1979. I was against this truck, but I'm now sold on it for you. All the points you made with parts. Yeah. And sport is a major plus compared to example Tesla. Exactly. Yes, I could get a Tesla. I could buy a Tesla Cybertruck. I don't think it would be as practical for the things we do. And I have good insurance. I spend a lot on insurance for a good reason. Back in 2012, a motorcycle ridden by someone who was uninsured. I came around a corner. Oh, sorry, I was coming up to a corner in my wife's brand new 2013 Chevrolet Volt with a V. It was one of about 300 that was sold in the UK, and we were one of those lucky people who had a Chevrolet Volt, not an Ampera, an actual honest-to-goodness Chevy Volt, because we preferred the design. And it was about $3,000 cheaper. And at the time, $3,000 was a big deal to us. It still is. She'd got literally maybe 300 or 400 miles on the clock, and I was driving along, and someone came around a corner on a bike, and they, as a biker, as soon as they came around the corner and I saw them, I'm like, you're not going around that corner, you're going in a straight line. And they low-sided the bike, and the bike came straight to my wife's car and smashed the underneath of it and smashed all sorts of things. And the insurance company did try and write that off. It was about £14,000 of damage, but it ended up getting repaired, and we owned it for a while. But the truck makes sense for my business, right? It makes sense for my personal life. My wife does woodworking as a hobby. She made this door. This is a custom-made solid door. She made our bed. All of the other a lot of the furniture in our house that is not kind of hand-me-down is made by her, and she's slowly going through all the house, and eventually she's going to make new desks in here. And so she's currently converting the garage into a proper wood shop and insulating it and doing all that good stuff. And so being able to haul building supplies in the back of the truck is a big deal for us. Being able to carry things. We have a family member who has a tiny home, and occasionally we help there with that. We've moved more people than I care to remember since we've owned the truck. In fact, most months, there's at least 2 or 3 days in a month where the truck is towing someone or hauling something for someone. We use it as a farm truck. We did it's a muddy truck most of the time. It's not, you know, it's not a trailer queen. Um, you're likely to step in some animal poo where I park it, because that's where it gets parked, on the mud. It's not on the driveway, it gets parked on the mud. The reason it's got a ceramic coating is so that I can rinse it off very easily when I'm going to do something that requires the truck to look good. I can rinse it off and it looks like it's straight out of the showroom, which is good. We haul a lot of gear in it for Transport Evolved. We haul all the camera gear and all the computers and all of the luggage for everybody and the entire team. 5 people can fit in the truck easily. We had, so the day the accident happened would have also been my Labrador's 12th birthday, and she unfortunately passed away the week before the accident. So it's been a tough February for us. We had 3 dogs. We have chickens. We have to haul animal feed for the animals. We're hoping to get goats this year. So it's an agricultural vehicle, as well as, I have a 10 by 20 greenhouse, just to give you an idea of kind of the stuff we do when I'm not doing 10 or TE. There's a whole load of other stuff going on. And so the truck is a good vehicle for us, but it's low mileage because when I don't need a truck, when I need to go and get groceries, the nearest grocery store to us is it's a half hour away by car. So it's about an hour's drive round trip. When I need to go and get groceries, I will usually take the Bolt. My wife has a Chevrolet Bolt. It will be paid off in a couple of months. It might even be paid off in a month's time. And we have no intention of selling it, no intention of replacing it. As long as it doesn't get involved in an accident, it will be with us for as long as we need it to. We treat our vehicles like tools rather than status symbols. And that's why I will be getting another F-150 Lightning. People will be angry with me. People can deal. It's very easy. It's very easy to assume that you know what somebody needs or wants or should get when you are not that person and you do not walk in their shoes. And the other final thing about that truck is a bit of shielding for us, right? As a member of a minority that is, yeah, Ed, I know Ed. Look, Ed and I have not always seen eye on things, but Ed, you're totally right. Absolutely. I was looking forward to seeing you charge your truck at a supercharger. Well, I'm hopefully going to. So for those who asked, I did actually order the adapter from Ford shortly before I drove out and wrecked the thing. So I do have a supercharger adapter on the way. And there is not a better solution for me right now. The good news is that yeah, no, definitely not. And thank you, Perry. If you use this tool and you've made it work for you, replacing it with the same tool is the right choice, hands down, absolutely. And look, I am still having nightmares about the accident. There will not be a Sunday Musing or a Chicken and Garden update. If you don't watch Transport Evolved Take 2, go and watch it. Transport Evolved Take 2 is where I talk about the Sunday Musing every Sunday. We just do videos once a week on a Sunday. We do 2. One is a Chicken and Garden update where I talk about the gardening I'm doing and the chickens and the animals on the property. And then the Sunday Musing is, hey, here's a thing. What do you think? Those videos are not going out tomorrow, despite the fact that the wonderful Erin was working on thumbs for them yesterday, bless her, because I just couldn't go to work yesterday. We're also supposed to be doing a video review of an Audi Q8 e-tron that's sitting on my driveway right now. I have not got behind the driving seat because it arrived on Wednesday evening after Emma had it. I was supposed to drive it up to Kate One Elliott yesterday, and then she was going to drive it down on Monday. But based on the weather and everything else, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. So that is where we are at. And someone has Someone has sent me an F-150 Lightning that is available. So we'll have to see. Yeah, but I'm not going to repeat myself. I'm not going to repeat myself. We have a home battery storage. It's called a truck. Go back and watch earlier on and see what I said about the truck and everything else. Yeah, exactly. The accident was actually it wasn't yesterday. It was Friday. But yes. So I'm doing good. The truck is not. But my goal moving forwards is this. The video that was actually going to be going out for tomorrow. So for those who don't want, if you are a Patreon supporter and you go to patreon.com/transport evolved, you normally get access to videos one day ahead of everybody else, unless it's 10 and then you get it like the night before it goes live. 10 is scripted, but obviously I'm not going to film it. I am very, very tired. Just sitting here talking to you is absolutely exhausting because I'm masking. I wasn't masking the other day, but I'm masking again now. And that is very, very hard for me. So I need to do some stuff. I need to leave now anyway. If I get the video out on Sunday, I will. And then video, you'll see it on Monday if you're not a Patreon supporter. Otherwise, it'll be probably Monday/Tuesday or Wednesday when that video goes out. Please support the channel in the interim because we're not going to be getting any video watchers during that time. I am still taking painkillers. I am still in a fair amount of pain. And so I'm going to go and lie back on the sofa and I'm going to carry on playing Baldur's Gate. I don't normally play video games very often because I don't have time, but I am currently playing Baldur's Gate 3. And my primary character in Baldur's Gate 3 is are you ready? You're never going to guess. It's a drow barbarian who is also a druid. So it's a drow druid who's also multi-classing as a barbarian. And so, as some people say, it's a drow barbarian because druids obviously can transform into animals. So a drow barbarian. I will leave you with that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your kind words. And when we know more about the truck and when we've got a new truck to talk about, if we in fact we do go with a new truck, we still may not, we'll share that on the stream as well. All right. Thanks everybody for your kind support. Like I say, I am going to be out of pocket. I mean, I'm going to have to buy a new tonneau cover and I'm going to have to get it recoated and stuff, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Keep evolving.